With so many marketing messages bombarding everyone, what do you do to rise above the noise? Authentic and thoughtful marketing could be the final frontier for marketing in business. Sit back and enjoy as we interview the principals of real businesses as they talk about their distinctive and authentic approach to reaching out to new prospects. When you rise above the noise, your marketing doesn't seem like marketing at all. I'm Jason Tanner. Welcome to the Zero Noise Marketing Podcast. Networking one person at a time could easily become a lost art. Is there a place for networking in your business? Is networking a big waste of time? Today's guest, Rick Frasso, pulls back the curtain and reveals how authentic and committed community involvement has helped him consistently grow his business. Rick is also not just satisfied to support most of the community-based groups here in Kingston, but he's also one of the founders of the Kingston Sales and Marketing Club, which is quickly becoming one of the premier networking events here in our city. Stick around and you'll learn how to pick the right networking groups to build your business and how to conduct yourself when you're at those groups. This is the Zero Noise Marketing Podcast. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, Rick, you've got so many community groups that you're involved with.
Right.
How do you pick the ones that you're going to be spending your time with?
I think it's almost that they come to me. I hear about organizations. In some cases, through a mutual friend. In some cases, I'm able to fill a gap, something they need. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
100 Min. I heard about this organization, didn't know anything about it. So 100 Min, they meet quarterly. Mm-hmm. Everybody gives $100 that night, and that night they pick a charity, and they give that charity $10,000 to use as they see fit, or the finances are used where it is most needed.
Right.
Now, I heard that the membership of 100 Min is dwindling.
Okay.
There's another organization, 100 Women, and their numbers are increasing rapidly. So I met Brad Revell, who's on the board,
okay,
and I suggested that possibly I could help them with their marketing campaign to possibly boost their numbers. First thing I did, I go to 100 Women.
Right.
I interview some people from there to find out what they did. And I have some St. Lawrence placement students helping me with a little bit of a marketing campaign.
Nice.
That this year we'll put into place. And to boost their numbers, just to make sure that we always have 100 Min donating to that organization. Okay. So there's an example of, I love going to the meetings, I love meeting new people, it's a fantastic experience, but now I'm able to also help them boosting their numbers through a marketing campaign.
That's super interesting to me because when a person is first starting their business, they might be thinking to themselves, where can I go to get what I want? And where you take the opposite approach. You look for a need, a place where you can have a positive impact, and then you go for it.
And of course, me being an entrepreneur businessman,
yeah.
You know that you're going to meet some people within that organization. They're going to be business owners. There's some retired people there, but there's a lot of business owners in that organization that like to give back to the community, and they're good people to get to know.
Okay.
In a business sense, you know. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of the term "pay it forward."
Yes.
So, in a lot of cases, that's what I do. You know, I'm not there to sell anything. I'm not there to boost my business. I'm there to help.
Right.
6 months down the road, we're going to get a phone call.
Right.
You know, they need help through our services, and they're going to think of a Response IT.
Right. But you never go into it thinking about that.
No.
That's really interesting. So you don't have an attachment to sort of a specific outcome. You just fill a need,
Right.
And trust that something good will come from it.
Yes, exactly, yes.
That's amazing.
It's so interesting meeting new people. A lot of times I'll meet someone or hear of a group or a new business, and I'll go visit them, or I'll invite them here for a little chat, just to find out who they are.
Right.
You know, you might meet them again 6 months or in a year. You just never know. And I really find there's so many interesting businesses, so many interesting people in Kingston.
Right. Great. Well, so what would you say to someone who's interested in getting into networking, specifically there? How would you suggest they get into that?
There are several networking groups in Kingston. Kingston Connections is a great one. They meet Thursday mornings at Smitty's.
Okay.
They're a very referral-based business, but not because they have to, because they like the people that they associate with, and they trust the people that they associate with. I've started with Mark Didymus, the Kingston Sales and Marketing Club here in town. We started it with 6 people attending, and now we've had up to 30. That organization is not to sell, not to boost your business. It's a bunch of like-minded people getting together to learn about marketing. And the way I'm going to learn about marketing is by talking to other people, finding out what they do to their business.
Right.
We have a speaker the first Wednesday, and a good example would be you. You spoke at one point, and very interesting because not only do you learn about marketing from the speakers or from the people that you're talking to, but it's a great networking opportunity. You know, things happen. Things are going to happen before the meeting, and you're going to meet people after the meeting.
Right.
And that's another great marketing group. There's a smaller one called Kabam. Yep. They meet at lunch at Mino's. There's of course the BNI. Right. And networking groups could be joining the chamber. The chamber, I was at a mixer last night at Habitat for Humanity. I joined the Rotary Community Service Organization. Of course, another great networking opportunity. So my suggestion would be just get out there, meet people. Again, last night I was at a speaker series at Innovate Kingston in the town hall in Portsmouth. There's about 50 like-minded entrepreneurs there. What a great opportunity to meet people just starting out. Yeah. And there's a panelist there of some successful people. Great questions about Kingston and the community. Right. There's just so many opportunities. I could be out 5 days a week attending events if I wanted to. Absolutely.
And here's a question. So when you're in a networking situation, the speaker or the usual agenda has happened, and now you're in a kind of an open social context.
Yes.
How do you conduct yourself when you're talking to people so that you can deepen the relationship?
I become interested in what they do. I rarely talk about myself. I let people know who I am and what I do. But again, I'm very interested in what they do, and I learn from them. Right. I learn from possibly their mistakes or how they became successful or what they are doing now. And of course, we'll exchange business cards. Now, if you're going to exchange business cards, a lot of people, that business card might end up in their top drawer, never to be seen again. I suggest that make use of the business card, follow up with some emails, maybe every 3 months, every 2 months, contact that person again, let them know you're still around. Right. A slow way to build a lasting relationship, you know, so just don't drop it. Right. I've heard that referred to as the loyalty loop. for clients and customers. So the loyalty loop. So you never let it drop. You always contact a person through an email, meeting them at an event, a follow-up email. You might attend their events. So it's a circle that a continuous circle. Don't let it ever break.
Right.
And you never know what's going to happen.
Okay. So the mindset, how has this affected your mindset as far as thinking about other people's needs?
I'm open to other people's needs. I am not always able to help with, but what I can do and what anybody can do is act as a connector. An example was this morning. I heard of a nonprofit organization that wanted to make use of videos for the Pathways organization. I happen to know a young man that wants to start a business in that industry.
Okay.
I don't have the skills,
right,
but I certainly know that he does. So I introduced them, and that's all I did. And he will now be producing videos for that nonprofit to be used in put on social media to actually show people what Pathways has accomplished for their 300 kids under their care.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's just connecting two people.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That's great. So there's two tiers to what we're trying to do with this show.
Okay.
And one is to look at the authentic stuff that you're doing, either implicitly or explicitly in your marketing.
Okay.
You talked about something that is, you've executed it explicitly. You've done this, made priority and budgeted time for this in your schedule.
Yes.
But the implicit message of this action is that you care about your community and that you have a personal commitment to support and service.
Right.
So that's very interesting as far as authentic marketing goes. And the other side of what we talk about on our show is what you do in your business to make it easier for your customers to refer you.
Well, we do little paid advertising.
Okay.
We do get a lot of referrals from our customers, and that is done by a customer experience that is really not hard to do. It's not hard to answer the phone. It's not hard to set up a service call next day when the person needs it. I've heard so many complaints in my industry of customers not being serviced well or in a timely manner, and to tell you the truth, I just don't get it. It's so easy. You know what? It's so easy to be nice to people. It's so easy to be nice to a business, to service that business. It just comes natural to us. We have a great team that we always leave the customer satisfied. Very, very important. We're never in a rush. And in a lot of cases, our clients, they almost become friends. We get to know them well. We see them at hockey games. We see them on the golf course, possibly in the summer. We do give out hockey tickets and we do give out golf tickets. I really find probably the easiest marketing advertising we do is just talking to our customers. That's it.
Right. And just a commitment to making sure that they get exactly what they're...
Yeah, and we communicate to them what we're doing at a grassroots level. You know,
Right.
we're not going to talk big, heavy technical talk. You know,
This is, it's very interesting talking to you, particularly because I understand that with the backup side of your business, the Canadian Cloud Backup, I mean, essentially, the temptation would be to think you're selling disk space. But in our world, like, disk space is a deeply commoditized concept, and people are, that's certainly the view. So what is it you're doing that makes people understand that your delivery of that otherwise commoditized service separates you from the alternatives out there in the marketplace?
well, if I was giving an elevator speech, I would say we sell peace of mind.
Right. Excellent.
So, in our field, disaster recovery just basically means for our clients that you're not going to lose your data.
Right.
And if something does happen to your computer, the cleaner knocks it over, you can be assured your data is backed up on our servers, and that we can put everything back.
Right.
And it's basically that simple. And so many people just don't get it. Ransomware. They might be attacked through ransomware, and if someone encrypts, if someone named Joe from India who says he's from Microsoft phones you up and encrypts your data and says you have to pay me $2,000 to get your data back, no, that happens. That really happens. We get phone calls where businesses have phoned it up with that exact same scenario.
How often does it happen? Like a couple of times a week, or?
I would say it's not unusual to get that type of phone call once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah? So it might be 2 times a month, it might be 4 times a month.
Right.
And the thing is that people don't hear about that. We're the only people that hear about that because we get the phone calls.
Right.
A lot of people are embarrassed that this has happened to them, and they don't advertise the fact.
Right.
And you can be sure once that happens, they're going to be phoning us to back up their data.
Right.
And the smart businesses have already done that.
Yeah. So what does it look like if I call, I say, Rick, I have the cloud backup with you guys, and I just came home and my computer has melted into a pool of plastic. What do I need to do next?
Well, first of all, we're going to put a new computer, right, in your place of business, and we can do this all remotely. We just get on our console and put that data back.
What kind of a turnaround in a situation?
Well, we will be there next day.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Now, there are other criteria. Your internet connection can be a criteria, or if you have a lot of data, we might take a hard drive right up to the server and back up to the server right there in the data center, just to get it done faster. So there's there's several possibilities.
Wow.
It just depends on what's needed at the time.
Gotcha.
And we did get into cloud backup at the right time, because as everybody knows, everything's going to the cloud.
Right. And my understanding is there's a lot of service providers who are operating out of the States. Maybe most of them are. Is that fair to say?
Through numbers, yes.
Right, through numbers. Okay. And we were having coffee at one time, and you mentioned to me that particularly in the medical industry, they have very specific standards that require them to keep their data in country.
That is correct.
Can you talk about that?
There are a few provinces that have that mandated now, and more provinces will follow over the years, where they require health records to be kept in Canada.
Right.
Because if if you have a business in the health industry and you have client data, and you're keeping that data on a Google server in Florida, you have no control over security. Even the American government, there's a lot of talk. Well, Canada has a couple of organizations. The acronyms are PIPEDA, and that they mandate that the data has to fulfill a certain security level. You can encrypt data. So our selling point is that we do keep our data in Canada, and we have one of the highest security levels, and everything's redundant, so you will never lose your data.
Right. So it's perfect insurance, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. So it's nice to get a handle on what you do to strongly differentiate yourself in a market where people may have a hard time differentiating one IT company from another. Mm-hmm. So that's great. I'm glad we were able to talk about that. So can I ask you a couple of questions about you professionally?
Sure.
What was the last marketing book that you read that had an impact on how you do your marketing?
I would say the Tipping Point.
Oh,
and I don't remember the author's name, but that was suggested to me to read that because I met a gentleman in the financial industry, and after we met a few times, he mentioned that I reminded him of the people in that book.
Okay.
And so I read the book, and he was right. A lot of the things that I do naturally were mentioned in that book.
Okay. Can you give an example?
Well, I mentioned the word connector.
Right. And Mavens, he talks about Mavens in his book too.
Yes, yes, and they mentioned in the book that the simple idea of being a connector can be a turning point in, let's say, the fashion industry. There were some examples of the fashion industry where in, I believe it was New York City, a few kids on a few blocks started wearing hush puppies.
Right.
And it was different. Mm-hmm. No one else was doing that, but the fashion industry got hold of that new idea, making use of an old shoe from years ago, from when I was young.
Sure.
And people started buying hush puppies from little convenience stores or just wherever they could find it, and everybody started selling out of these hush puppies because all the cool kids started wearing them.
Right.
And it became a multi-million-dollar industry just because a few kids on the New York block started wearing these old shoes.
Gotcha. I find that so fascinating.
Yeah, so do I, yeah.
Yeah. Because like our natural instinct is to, we want to think like hunters, right? But in marketing, especially nowadays, we have to think like farmers because we don't know of the seeds we plant, which ones are going to bear fruit necessarily.
Right. Good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they certainly, and I think it happened with Timberland boots as well. The hip hop and rap community subverted those for their own use, and they couldn't keep them in stores. And they never set out. Like Timberland never had a meeting and brainstormed possible markets, they just created a sturdy product that someone found another use for.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It kind of circles back to what you're doing with your network marketing too. There's no way of knowing where those seeds will find purchase. You know.
Right. And Another thought that I always have when I'm out there meeting people is I try to be creative, I try to be innovative, thinking of new ideas, something that's never done before. An example, I met Women Mean Business here in town, and we changed these offices into a showcase. I got everybody to clean up their office. We put a big black cloth on the table, and one office we had the Boys and Girls Club. We had someone selling jewelry. We had an artist. We had a massage therapist. Every office we changed into a showcase for a business from the Women Mean Business networking group, and we had wine tasting up front. That was just an idea that popped into my head. It was very successful. And you get much more enjoyment when you're doing something different like that, or you think of something different.
That's it.
It stands out, you know. People still come up to me and said, "Oh, I was at your mixer 3 years ago," and they still remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that actually triggers something in my own mind. That would you say that it's important to find a way to find joy in the process of outreach, rather than being miserly about budgeting? I got to do 2 hours a week or else.
Well, I always say I have the best job in the world because I have fun doing it.
Right.
So that's what I do. What I do. That's why I own these businesses, because I enjoy growing businesses. I enjoy the process, and I have fun doing it. And I think that filters down to your team, which then filters down to our clients. That just I think it's what our business is built on.
Okay.
You know, it's just people come to work, they laugh and joke, and they want to come to work, and our clients see that. You know, they see our techs being upbeat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're not loathing the next call.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very tough. I used to do tech support myself, and I know that agent morale, the guys on the phone, that's a very tricky thing to do.
We have little turnover here.
Right. That's amazing.
But we put time into people. We find someone we want to keep, and we put time into them.
So who's been with you the longest?
I would say my partner Chris, who I hired right out of school, took him to his first call, and he soon surpassed me in technical knowledge, which is another criteria I have. I always hire people smarter than myself. Shane, our administrator, has been here for over 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
He's the, and I'm sure you've heard this term before, the glue that keeps everything together.
Right.
Shane is great. He knows all our clients by name. He's the one that's going to answer the phone. He sets up the calls. He orders. Everything goes through Shane. And I'm sure every business has somebody like that.
Kind of a linchpin.
Yeah, we have our Shane.
Right. There you go. Fantastic. So the employee retention is just another facet of marketing, because it, of course, informs the way you come across to the people who do business with you. There's a consistency.
Right. Yeah, and if you have the same tech for 6 years, they must be doing something right.
It's amazing continuity.
Yeah.
Like most of us, when we call into a help desk, we imagine a sea of strangers, really. Whereas when doing business with Response IT, it's a small room of friends that are there to help you out.
Yes, and that can be an advantage. even Canadian Cloud Backup. We're in an industry and we're playing with some, or partnering with some very large companies. But we have an advantage because we're small. We can turn on a dime, we can make decisions, we don't have a hierarchy of the C-suite.
Right.
And over time we found that's a very real advantage to us.
Gotcha. So you're not locked down by a bunch of policies that are
Right.
just there to protect you from
Right.
your clients. Your policies are there to help you serve, not to protect you from crazy clients.
Yeah. And we can put resources to a decision when it's needed. We do try to act like a larger company, but we do that with very few personnel. Just because of the industry we're in, everything's done on consoles,
Right.
remotely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So how can people get a hold of you, Rick?
Well, of course, we have our website, www.responsit.ca, and certainly a lot of people contact me directly, Rick at responsit.ca.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.
This has been the Zero Noise Marketing Show. Connecting with the right prospects in an authentic way doesn't have to be complicated. If you think authentic zero noise marketing might be right for your business, find out for sure by contacting us for a free consultation session. We can be reached at 613-379-3051. You might be eligible for a complimentary test campaign. I'm Jason Tanner. Thanks for tuning in.